So anyways, I told him, dude, if you missed a cat hole, you can't use the camp trowel as a putter. Say, and you guys ever had any weird things happen to you when you're on trail, or scary things?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
A couple.
Okay, so it's not just me?
Definitely not.
Hey, it's Backpacker Bob here. It's time for some scary stories.
Who is that guy? I have no idea. I don't know, yeah. It's been a while since I've had some more soup, but it's never too late.
Friday night.
Friday night,
That
really?
was the last one I had.
There you go.
The one true camper in the group.
Well, it was also like this. I would
This
say
is Sunday and it was just Friday?
Yeah. I brought
So-
my fire pit jacket. It still smells like smoke.
Awesome. So my story takes place in the wonderfully innocent time of the 1990s. Probably before the two of you were born.
How old are you?
27.
Okay.
I think.
What?
So am I, yeah. We're
Ah.
the same age, yeah.
What?
I have grandkids that old.
Grandpa?
So, back when I was a scout, and I was about 16 years old at the time, our troop was camped out at a campsite on Gettysburg National Battlefield. There's a camping area at the bottom of Pickett's Charge. And, you know, we did the usual scout things. We toured the battlefield during the day and had our dinner and sat around and did stuff like this. And then eventually we all decided to go to bed. And in the middle of the night, I was startled awake by a noise. And in the middle of the night, I started hearing noises of people walking past my tent. So I thought, well, it was probably just the guys in the troop. And then started hearing things like metal cups clinking and things like that, and men shouting, and then you heard the cannons going off. And at this point, I stuck my head out of the tent and could see nothing. It was a foggy night, of course, because every ghost story has a foggy night or something. And I could hear what sounded like the battle happening in the distance. Cannons going off, muskets firing, people walking through the field, men screaming. And I became aware also that I wasn't the only one that heard this, because about half of the other tents all had some 16-year-old kid's head popped out of it. And we're all looking at each other and looking around. But the crazy thing is that the next morning, the other people said they didn't hear anything. But there was about half of the group, about half of us, that all sat there and heard this thing go on for a length of time. It probably lasted about 30 minutes or so. And then eventually just kind of stopped and went to bed.
How could you go to bed?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well,
That's
again,
wild.
it was a wild experience, and didn't see anything, and could definitely hear things though. So, and interestingly enough, a few years after this, I became a Civil War reenactor, and it sounded just like it did when we were out doing our reenactments. So it's
Did
pretty
you ever
cool.
look into it? Is that like a common occurrence?
I actually did, and there are several reports of people hearing the battle occurring even during the day. There's been stories of people seeing soldiers marching the field that were so realistic that they thought they were like a reenactment going on, and until the ranger said no, there's no reenactments or anything going on.
You're just seeing ghosts.
You're just seeing ghosts. One of the famous stories about Gettysburg is some ladies that were working at a local college, and they were working late at night, and they were leaving, and they were in an elevator, and the elevator, for whatever reason, went down into the basement instead of the floor that they wanted to go to. And when the doors opened, what they saw was a field hospital. like men on tables, being worked on, doctors, people screaming. And she said one of the doctors motioned for them to come out of the elevator, which fortunately they did not. They
Don't do
rapidly closed the door. And so that's one of the more famous ones. But we've had other experiences on other battlefields too when I did the Civil War reenacting. But yeah, that's probably my creepiest camping story.
Huh.
You always hear about stuff like that in like places where there's like bloodshed, like
Yeah.
serious bloodshed, but there's still like hauntings.
It's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
heavy
Of that
emotion of it. I
Yeah,
think
like a lot's happened on that land.
it's almost like it
still
gets
carries some
recorded. Like it's not. It's just like a replay of
Mhm.
these events in history. It's kind of how it felt like that night. It's kind of a
pretty
recorded
wild.
night.
memory.
All right, Connor, let's hear your story.
All right.
Take a bite of that s'more. Excuse me.
I won't burn myself like Anthony did.
Don't do it. Don't.
Nothing like prompting you to tell a story right as you're filling your face with s'more.
All right. So I got a little scene to set when it comes to the story. Oh, I'm not.
I'm getting marshmallow all over his decorations.
Sorry, Jay. I'll lick it off later. Anyway, so are you guys familiar with Chico Hot Springs,
Yep, we're Paradise Valley, right outside of Gardner.
Montana? Oh yeah. So,
Pray, Montana.
yep. You might know. Do you know what year it was built? Because it's super old, and there's a lot of history there.
What are you calling Jay super old?
Yeah, Jay, you've been
Compared to
there.
me.
You were there when they built it.
You, on one of your videos, you claimed, oh, and he's still alive.
Oh, maybe because somebody thought that I dedicated that to you because you died.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Rest in peace,
I'm
Jay.
still alive. Wow.
That's how you found out.
Surprise!
Oh man.
So so Chico Hot Springs. So the main lodge is still standing from the original lodge, and it's 3 levels. It's kind of it is old school lodging. Like it's a room, and then there's communal bathrooms for everyone on the floor to use and everything.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. The top floor has history of hauntings, and yeah.
Third floor.
Oh yeah. So the 3rd floor, and the way it's set up, there's one staircase leading up to the top, and then a long hallway going down to the far rooms, and there's no exit on the back side.
It sounds like something out of a horror.
Oh yeah, exactly. So this is straight from my really good family friends who were staying there. They got in late, and they ended up getting the last possible room on that 3rd floor, so you had to walk all the way down that hallway.
Furthest from the exit.
Yeah, furthest from the exit, exactly. So they're staying there and go to bed pretty late, had a few drinks, so
As one does.
as one does at Chico, yeah. But they get to bed pretty late, and something wakes them both up right a little after 2 a.m. And they said it was a very cold feeling. They both felt it, and they both kind of woke up startled and trying to figure out what's going on. And there's a light in the hallway, and once they're sitting there kind of figuring things out, it gets a little quiet, and they can hear footsteps because it's an old building. They hear these creaky footsteps coming down the hallway, and it keeps getting closer and closer. And this is a husband and wife. The husband gets up and starts to wonder, it's got to turn off, right? There's only so many doors, and it's already past half of them. It keeps getting closer and closer.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So all this put together, he's kind of getting a little freaked out and starts to head towards the door. At this point, there's only one other room that this person, or whatever it is, could stop. And it goes past that.
Oh no.
So he's
Danger,
standing
danger.
up from the bed and looks out to the door and can see a shadow of some, 2 legs standing there. And he goes to the door to open it, because why would anybody be there? As he gets to the door and opens it, looks into the hallway, and there's nothing in the hallway. Like
God.
he said, he had chills and could not sleep for the whole rest of the night. Like,
I don't know what would be
Oh, yeah.
worse.
yeah.
Opening the hallway and having nothing be there, or like opening the hallway and seeing the twins girls from The Shining
Yeah.
standing there in the bedroom.
That's the vibe. Oh yeah, that's the vibe that I got from that story when he told me.
I
But,
would not have opened
and
that.
this guy salted the earth. Like I don't. There's no reason to lie. Like
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's there would be no more sleep for the rest of that
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
You knew that the third floor was haunted, Jay? Okay.
I mean, there's
Well, I didn't know, but I've heard stories
You've heard
about the
stories.
third floor.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's supposed to be one room that the maid's always finding weird things.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Furniture's been moved. Or,
Well, there's like it being as old as the
or the
building is.
window open,
There's
or-
all sorts
Yes.
of
Weird
just
things.
crazy history. I'm sure there's been deaths up there.
Well, one time it was a mental hospital.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Really?
why has this not been turned into a movie yet?
Oh man. I wonder if they're using like the hot springs to like try to cure them. Because I know
It
people
probably
use like
was,
the
yeah, the
lithium
curative
Oh yeah,
springs.
Yeah.
it's
Like,
so that main
Now they just
lodge
use it
at
as an
one time
excuse
was
to
a
get drunk.
hospital.
that's wild.
Mhm.
That's crazy. I didn't even know it was a mental.
So they're gonna be
So-
mad about this video. Like, why are you telling everyone that we were an old mental
Yeah.
institution? There goes the business.
Well, it's 334 subscribers. I don't think anybody's paying that much attention.
This is gonna be the video that pops off though.
Yeah, exactly. Chico's freak.
Walking boots.
Yeah, yeah.
I find that so amazing.
Old school.
They're good. They're sturdy. I put
But
a
they
good-
weigh 10 pounds each.
Yeah, I thought
I
I
got
was
great
I was so
calves.
pleased with myself. I was like, man, this is great. I'm hiking in front of Anthony. He's not having a hard time. Well, his pack probably weighed 4 times more than mine did.
Yeah, I brought like 2 books, tons of clothes, way more food than I needed, giant boots. Yeah, I'm a
Fishing
pack.
pole.
I'm a pack mule. Yeah, fishing gear. All right, so
I'm excited for this one.
this isn't like a spooky, like ghosty story sort of thing, but it was
Son of a
kind of
bitch, I'm
a.
out.
No, you'll like this one because it happened a month or so ago, and it was ridiculous, and it
Hot
freaked
off the
me out at the
presses.
time. Oh yeah. So, come like August, I became the caretaker of Two Moon Park. So that comes with this little trailer home that's in the park and everything. And if you don't know about Two Moon Park, it's got a very interesting history. Biker gangs would hang out there. It was a big party spot for the locals. And it's right along the Yellowstone River, so there's a lot of like the migrant transit population that goes through there because it's easy to hide. You can do your dirty deeds and leave, and most of the time people.
So that's
don't
why
know.
you moved out there.
You got it. So I was babysitting a ranch at the time, and I'm doing a whole bunch of other work. So I have to come back every day, at least once a day, check on it. I got to feed these cats that are there, and I just make sure everything's as good as it can be for this time. I come back one of these days, and I turn around the house, and there's a garage that's just full of tools. It's got a little 4x4 gator, and oh yeah, it's hot. It's steaming.
Yeah. What's up?
There is a woman in the garage wearing some boxer shorts and a t-shirt, and she's loading tools into like a wheelbarrow. And the guy who used to be the caretaker of the park developed this community of volunteers to help him out. He was kind of an old guy, couldn't walk, so he needed other people to do the work for him. Lots of different people helped him out, so I'm like, hey, this is a new one. Let's go say hi. I walk up and I go, dude, you're not even wrong, man. I go, hey, how you doing? I'm Anthony. Who are you? And she doesn't tell me her name. She goes, oh, I'm the new caretaker here. I live in this house right there. Yeah. She goes, I'm living here. And I have, like, the keys to the house on my hip. Okay. I don't say anything. I take a step back and look at her because I'm like, I have to call the sheriffs now because this lady is delusional.
Yeah.
Somehow she's in the garage with everything. I noticed she's got my headlamp around her neck with a ring of keys from inside. So I'm like, okay, so she's definitely been in the house. I gotta report this lady to the sheriffs.
God.
So I step back probably
This is
from about like
freaky.
me to you, and I'm like looking her up and down because I need to memorize tattoos, piercings, identified features. And in doing so, I recognize my t-shirt and my underwear that she is currently wearing And she's looking at me, and I say it. I'm like, "You're wearing my clothes. What is going on here?" And she goes, "Oh, this just must be so weird. Just some stranger here wearing your clothes." Yeah! It is. What the heck? She goes, "Yeah, well, I must be your new roommate." I'm like, "Oh, no. Okay, lady." She goes, "Listen, I'm supposed to be here. My mom's in the Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm here. This is where I'm supposed to be." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." I didn't confront her on it anymore. I said, "Well, I'm going to go look around, see what's going on. You just continue doing your stuff here." Because she looked like she was working in a way. I was like, "Okay." I run into the house because it's unlocked. I'm like, okay, so she found the hide key that used to be there, and this door is just open. Nothing is missing in the house, but there's her backpack.
Except the underwear that she's got on her butt.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's so creepy. You see someone wearing your own clothes.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So I look in her backpack. There's no gun. There's no knife. So I'm like, okay. So she definitely doesn't have anything on her because my clothes are hanging off this lady. She's not that big. So I'm like, okay. I see her starting to make her way behind me into the house. So I dip out the back door and I call the sheriffs. Go, "Hey, crazy lady in my house. Come and get her. This is pretty interesting. So hurry up." I'm standing on the phone with dispatch. Got my truck in between myself and the house where she can come out. And she comes out in a different set of clothes, which I'm hoping are actually hers, because they weren't mine this time.
God knows he knows where they came from.
God, and she starts screaming at me. "You don't belong here. You're trespassing. I'm supposed to live here. You call whoever the you need to call. This is my house." And I'm like, "Lady, I don't know who the hell you are." And dispatch is on speakerphone going, "Sir, please step away from the lady. She sounds aggressive." And I'm like,
No crap.
"Come on, you got it." It's like, this is just my heart stomping because I'm like, now she's dressed. Maybe she now has a weapon or something. So I
Sounds like a
walk far
different
away.
personality showed up.
Absolutely. Once the game was up and I called her on her bluff, crazy immediately goes to aggressive. That's just the step in that thing. But just to paint an even bigger picture for you, I've just come from babysitting the ranch and my other job. So I am grungy as all get out. My hair is wild and untamed. I'm covered in dirt because I've been working outside. So I don't really look like I live in this house either.
Oh no!
So the sheriffs pull up and they grab her out of the house and they're going, "What's happening here?" Because she has all the keys and is a little more dressed than you are. And she's saying, "You don't live here," but you're saying she doesn't live here. Who lives here? I cannot imagine what those cops are thinking.
They're probably
at the
looking
time.
for the cameras themselves.
Yeah.
Like, we have got to be getting punked.
Dude, it was ridiculous. And then thankfully someone showed up. My boss of bosses came and verified, "No, Anthony's supposed to live here. We don't know who this lady is or how she got the keys or whatever." And they're like, "Okay, well, we're going to go take her to the Crazy Palace because she is just kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now." They get her backpack and they dump it out on the hood of the truck, just seeing if anything else was stolen. And all the keys, there's over 50 keys for this whole park. And she had them all in her backpack, and they all are spilled out on the dash of the cop car. And they're like, "Why are these in your backpack? What's going on here?" And she looks over at me and goes, "Because I don't trust him." God. It's ridiculous.
That is
Insane.
weirder than any TV show plotline you could ever come up with.
Oh yeah. So now whenever I see everyone, like the cops or the other park employees that I work with and all that, they all know the story and they refer to her as my girlfriend. So every time I see them, they're like, "How's the girlfriend?" I'm like, "I don't know. I wasn't able to visit her the other day. Visiting hours are tough." So that is my introduction to this new job and some of the people who use the park.
Oh, that is hilarious.
That is epically creepy.
Mm-hmm. So I burned my underwear and my shirt.
I was just
I'm not
saying.
wearing those again.
Sacrifices needed to be made.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't like a favorite of anything.
Yeah.
That would have been awful.
Be standing there by the fire just bawling.
No, and I toss my new shirt in.
No. Okay, yeah,
Bad
that
stuff.
that may not be a backpacking story, but that is still pretty darn creepy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I anxiously await her return.
Oh, I'm sure. All right, so this other story I have is not my story. It's actually was a story of an old coworker of her at the store, and she told me a story about something that happened to her up in the Crazy Mountains, which 3 of us have been to on trips. You've
I've
been
been
there
there
before.
separately. Yeah.
So the Crazy Mountains themselves already have kind of a reputation for being a little bit odd, with the story of
Some would say crazy.
some may say crazy, yes, absolutely. But anyway, she told a story about her and her friend decided they were going to go up and do a overnight backpacking trip up there. And she said they got a late start, so they actually got into camp by Headland. And so they set up the camp and everything, set up their tent, hung up their bear bag. And since it was already late, they just went ahead and turned in, went to bed. And in the middle of the night, Emma says she was awoken by some noises, and she said that she could hear something walking through camp. And
Touchdown!
home run! So she heard this thing walking through camp, and of course he originally thought maybe it was a bear or something to that effect. And then things started being thrown around the camp. So like rocks and stuff, and things are being thrown, and stuff is being thrown onto the tent, and something pushed in on the tent, and they could hear this thing actually getting up and tearing. She said she could literally hear it shredding the fabric of the bear bag, and could hear pieces of stuff falling on the ground, all the stuff coming out of the bear bag, and they're yelling and screaming about trying to get it to go away. And there's all this commotion. There's stuff being tossed around outside the camp, all this commotion and various things going on. This went on for quite a while. They're pretty freaked out, but they did not, out of fear, they did not look out of the tent. Until eventually it stopped, and they just kind of huddled in the tent until morning. So, of course, easily the first thought is a bear or something like that had gone into the camp and trashed it, which is not unheard of there. They wake up the next morning, and they're expecting to see their camp in disarray and all their food eaten and everything.
Wait, they went back to sleep?
Yeah, apparently. And, what else are you going to do, right? And, because they're still thinking it was most likely a bear. But the weird part is that when they finally did get up the courage to look outside to see the condition of their camp, everything was perfectly normal. The bear bag was still on the tree. It was in one piece. There was no food anywhere around. There were no rocks that had been thrown. Everything was exactly as they had left it the night before. And they made the executive decision at that point that their trip was done, and they hightailed it out. So
It would give you the heebie-jeebies.
yeah, that was a pretty crazy one. All right, Jay. Last but definitely not least.
Oh yes, very least.
Ooh, nice sweet chase.
Good setup. Good setup for the story.
So this is are you familiar with the medicine wheel?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is when I was working as a seasonal bighorns, and it was early in the season. Actually, it was the summer solstice, so June 21st. We're at Burgess Ranger Station, and we get this call. I think it's set up as different now, but back in those days there was like a sheep tent or a sheep fence, a wire fence around the medicine wall. Now I think there's a small rock wall with electronic surveillance around it. I don't think it was a fence area. But it was the summer solstice. I think the planets were supposed to be aligned at night or something. There was some big astronomical event.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get this call that the fence had been violated and somebody put it in the fence. To the point that there had been some rocks moved around and things. And the forest archaeologist was there at the time and said, like it. So we went up, drove up, unlocked the gate, just casually walked in, saw that some rocks had indeed been moved. So he had not grabbed his camera, so he says, I've got to go back to this camera and talk about this. So we went back out the gate, stationed somebody there in case we left somebody there in case somebody else showed up or things went on. Went back, fetched his camera, and came back and says, this time we took a moment and we approached it correctly. Instead of just unlooking me and walking in and seeing stuff. Ceremoniously, you enter the medicine wheel or a teepee sweat lodge, you circle a certain direction. And so we entered more reverently, let's say. And there was, yes, the rocks had been moved, but there was a fresh slice of bread that was not there before, or was at least not visible before. There was some tobacco and some other, like a medicine pouch that we didn't see before.
Oh. That's kind of odd.
That's pretty wild.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
What'd you guys do with it? Leave it all there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't move anything. We just took pictures of the rocks.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Do you guys have pictures of like the bread and the pouch and all
I
that?
think they did. I think they did. But it was obvious that we would have seen it if we would have seen it that first time. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was fairly obvious.
So yeah, now you miss a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And nobody, I mean, we left somebody there. Nobody had gone in.
Huh.
Wow. Oh, so there was somebody still there the entire time, so nobody.
Yeah, when we first
Yes.
got there, we left somebody there when we
Okay, that's even more creepy.
went back to get the camera.
Wow.
Huh. Well,
So have you guys ever watched Twin Peaks?
yes.
Okay, so there's a scene in a mystical forest where there is some sort of shrine out there in the woods, and when the stars align and everything like that, a sense of a portal opens up, and it sounds almost dead on
Yeah.
to what you're telling me, Jay, because he has to walk in a certain way, and he disappears out of sight from other people who are there with him. Like he just kind of vanishes out, and then when he returns, he just kind of like appears out going the opposite way. And all that.
Well, I mean,
That's
that place
creepy.
has a lot of significance
Yeah.
in order for it to be a place of a medicine wheel to begin with. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it. So did you have any feelings of like the heebie-jeebies or anything
Not
like
really.
that? No, nothing.
It felt more sacred than scary.
It would be I think it would be a powerful place to be some sort of a astrological event like that. Whether you believe that stuff or not, I just feel like it would be.
Yeah, it was the summer solstice, and there was some kind of planet alignment that year or something too.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of interest in the medicine wheel that night.
Definitely not.
Hey, it's Backpacker Bob here. It's time for some scary stories.
How did Crow get into my video?